Hey, let's talk about managing upward at work. It's time to step back and say, who do I have to influence that's higher up in the organization than me? And how am I managing upward? How am I influencing them? How am I making myself visible to them? So managing upward isn't just a political game. It's actually a very strategic way of interacting with those who are your leaders. You may be functionally or operationally responsible for influencing these individuals, and I want to give you some tips on how to do that. Tip number one, remember why they hired you. This is a two-way agreement. You have an employment contract with this organization in order to get a job done. But they also have an obligation to partner with you and collaborate with you, give you the resources that you need in order to be successful, right? They're going to pay you, they're going to give you benefits, and at the end of the day, you have to be successful in figuring out all of the ways in which you're going to get the job done. Managing upward is one of those things. So you must remember why you are there. And it is not for you to sit in the corner and hide and just put your head down and do the work. You must collaborate and be in a partnership with your organization. So keep that in mind with every interaction, that this is a two-way street. Tip number two, get to know your leadership. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to spend the weekends with everybody and socialize with your leaders every week. But I do want you to know that getting to know them is going to be a very powerful relationship tool for influencing them going forward. When you know your leadership and they know you, so don't forget to tell them about your world, your life, your family as well, then they are much more likely to help you and partner with you and support you when you're asking for something or need their support and championship going forward in your career. Make sure you're shadowing their door frequently. That means popping in first thing in the morning to say good morning and to say hello. Making sure that you're asking them questions about their family, about their activities over the weekend. Yes, it isn't about work and life. This is life. And if you want to have the leverage to influence them in the future, then you need to get to know them. And that is direct report leadership or functional leadership. Make sure that you've gone out of your way to not only find out more about them, but to share more about you. Tip number three. Now this one is very critical. You need to be very clear as to what your leader is being measured for. What are their key metrics? How are they being driven to behave in the manner in which they behave day in and day out by the metrics of the organization? How do they know their job has been successful? Typically, we spend so much time focused on our own objectives, our own goals, that we forget to ask, are we completely aligned with the success of my leader or my boss? So asking your boss, what are your key metrics and how does that prioritize the work that I'm doing, that draws the line to what success looks like for the organization. Not only should you be able to draw a line between the work you've done to the work of the boss or the functional leader that you're reporting to or influencing, but then you must be able to draw that line to the ultimate success of the organization. So partner with your leadership, making sure that you're asking them, what does success look like for you, and how can I adapt my work, my responsibilities to make you successful? Tip number four, how do you perceive your manager? Do you believe in them? Do you have preconceived judgments about them? How are you talking about them when you're not in the office or with your colleagues? Assume positive intent. When you assume positive intent, you are simply reminding yourself that we're all in this together. I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself the following question. Do I judge my leadership? Am I talking about them behind their backs, with my colleagues, at home when I come home from work at the end of the day? Do I assume positive intent? It is so imperative that you step back and recognize that your leader is just like you. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like every other human being. So I want you to recognize the power of removing judgment and making sure that you are open-minded. You have moved the blinders away and you're really open to that collaborative, higher vibration dialogue with your leadership. If you really want to influence them and get what you need to be successful in your job, then you need to begin by suspending any disbelief that they are there to partner and support you. I remember an example where I was in the C-suite working in a boardroom meeting for about 4 hours with my peers. There were about 10 of us in the room. Let me tell you, it was super stressful. The goal was to make sure that the decisions we made that day were in the best interest of everyone involved, not just the shareholders, but also our employees. And that was my job as the human resources executive. We came out of this big meeting one afternoon, and I remember walking down the hallway, and I heard a disgruntled employee whisper under their breath, "What were y'all doing in there? Trying to figure out another way to screw us?" It really cut close to my heart, because at the end of the day, when we assume positive intent, we remember that no matter what your title, these are just human beings doing the best they can. Believe me, I've been in a lot of boardroom meetings, and that is the last thing we're thinking about, is how to screw anybody. If anything, we're trying to figure out the best solution for everyone involved. Number 5. Now keep in mind, this may be the most important tip of all, because at the end of the day, you have to be really clear about what you want when you're managing upward. And what do I mean by that? Not just about what you want to accomplish your goals for your job, but what you want from a career perspective. Managing upward isn't just about getting work done. Managing upward is about creating that strong relationship so that you are visible and that you are in a space of positive intent, so that when they do think about the next opportunity in the organization, they're going to think about you. But you must tell them what you want. As an HR professional, too many times I had employees coming to me and they weren't clear about what they wanted. They simply asked me, "What should I do next?" Now, of course, we would brainstorm and we would collaborate about what they wanted in their life, but it really ultimately does come down to your interests. What type of lifestyle are you going to create for yourself, and what matters most to you? And if your leaders don't know this information, they can't think of you, they cannot champion you, and they cannot promote you without that insight. So make sure you're taking advantage of every opportunity to communicate what it is you're interested in life. It should be no surprise by any leader that you're influencing what you want and why.